I'm so happy to see you because I know if you're not with me, you're hanging out with Lulu, that beautiful red trolley. So tell us a little bit about how that single investment actually has created so much fun and community.
It's been great. So I'm a real estate agent, and oh gosh, a year or so ago, I decided to do some client events, rented the Hershey trolley, the green ones everybody's seen coming through. And I did some food tours with those just for client events. And I thought it was so fun and such a cool thing that I decided to buy a trolley to do food tours and to help other people discover the hidden gems in Hershey and the surrounding area and highlight our local entrepreneurs.
All right. So what's been the biggest surprise with that beautiful red Lulu trolley?
You know what? The funniest thing, okay, so one of the very first times I ever rode on it, it came from Iowa and a transport company brought it in. So it sat in this garage for a little bit until we could get a driver to take us out. And I remember driving through Main Street on Hummelstown, and I'm just sitting in it and I'm like, why are people looking at me? And then I realized I'm in a big red trolley. And it kind of turns heads. And then I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of sticks out more than my gray mid-size SUV does driving down the street. So that was a surprise that it really kind of people notice it. And also it was crazy just that one drive from Hummelstown to Campbellstown and back. I heard from like 3 people that, yeah, I saw the trolley. I'm like, well, how are you out and seeing the trolley? So that's been fun. It kind of is noticeable.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit more. Like what's a typical food tour like? And I
Okay.
also know you have hop on, hop off. So tell us a little bit more
Yeah.
about.
Okay. Well, yeah, let me go back a little bit. So I started a website about a year ago called Yokel. The website is shopyokl.com, and it will be an app at one point. We're doing web-based first, but its mission is to highlight local entrepreneurs, to tell their stories, and to encourage people to shop local and to gamify that. And so, just like a little stat on that, as I was building this company, I did a lot of research, and a lot of colleges have done like studies on, local economies. And I found out, through reading that when you shop, if you take $100 and I go down to Pronio's, which is our local grocery store in Hershey, and I spend it, about $60 of that 100 will stay in our local community, our township, our county, that kind of thing, because he's hiring local accountants, local advertisers, local printers, all of that, right? If I take that same $100 and I go to a big box realtor, no shade for them or anything, we all do that, but about $20 stays and is reinvested. So literally with our dollars, we're either building our community and making it better, or we're sending money away from our community. And I realize that's our why. My why is to help people understand that and to formulate habits and the desire to shop local.
We're either building our community or we're not, right? And so when we buy local, we're building our community. We're pouring into our community. Love it. Love it.
Yeah. Okay. And side note, like I was at Rotary, I'm part of the Hershey Rotary, and just a random conversation once when we were going through the lunch line, a guy was asking me, well, tell me about your business. And we were just talking about it. And he said, my daughter lives in, I won't even name the state or the city. And he said, she lives in X. And she said, it's not that nice of a place. And there's no mom and pop stuff. It's all chains. And I know that city, and it is not going to be a top 50 place to live. And I thought to myself, yeah, that makes sense, because guess what? All the money that people are spending there leaves their community, and it's never going to be nice because those dollars are fleeing. And it's like, we are so blessed in South Central PA. Think of super strong, local communities in downtowns, Hershey, Hummelstown, Palmyra. I mean, at Lingelstown. We've really, really got some cool stuff. And that's what I want to do with this big red trolley is highlight that. That's our mission. So you asked about the food tours. That's what we do is we take people out to anywhere from 3 to 5 local establishments, and they eat, and most of the time they hear from the entrepreneur. They kind of hear his or her story, why they started, the things they've learned along the way, and then they talk about the food that we're eating and, what's special about it.
I had a guest in from out of town, and we did your hop on, hop off tour, and we had a blast. And that's like a new venture for you. What inspired you to add that into the mix?
Yeah, I love that. And it is a really fun story, I think, about community and stuff. I was actually out taking these rat cards printed that talk about our business, and I was taking them out to local shops that people come in off the street. And I was in Hummelstown. And I thought, well, I'll take some into the Sun. Not that that's a hot retail place, but people go in there. That's our local newspaper there in Hummelstown. And people come in and out there, and I know the editor. I write for them, so I go in there, and I'm just gonna leave some flyers. And Drew, the editor, Drew Weidman, he comes out. Oh, hey Eileen, how you doing? Oh, good. I'm just dropping these off. He's like, well, come back. Let's chat for a minute. So I go in his office. He's like, how are things going? I'm like, pretty good. He goes, are you gonna do a pub crawl? And I said, well, yeah. It's on the list of things I want to do. He goes, no, I mean like out like every day, just circling Hershey or Hummelstown. Like you should be out with the trolley all the time and let people. He goes, I'm 40 years old. I like to have a good time with my friends. I would do something like that. And literally in a half hour, we kind of hatched this plan for the trolley crawl. And then I spent the next 2 weeks. Thankfully, I already had relationships with Trogs and the Mill and Hidden Still and Finici's and all of them through my food tours. And I'm like, hey guys, I want to start this trolley crawl where every hour I'll circle through Hershey and stop at these 7 spots. And they were like, wait, so hang on, you want to bring people to my restaurant? And so they all said yes. And the huge is just from a business standpoint. I don't at this point, like the crawl, it has had its more successful nights, but it's not like slam packed with 60 people hopping off and on. But the real beauty of it is the partnership with those restaurants. And then I have these huge 36 by 24 posters, basically those sidewalk signs out of 7 of the most popular, awesome establishments in Hershey.
Anything new we takes time, and anything new we learn and adjust, right?
Yeah, and I appreciate people like you who are in the business space and understand that and encourage. I appreciate you and your friend coming on. It was a ruckus, was it not? We had fun.
I don't think I laughed as much. Oh, I went down as a C+ videographer, and my girlfriend was the DJ.
She was so great.
We had a
And
blast. We had a
yeah,
blast.
for those of you listening, what we did that night, I had, I don't know what,
You had
7
10.
actual, what'd you
Yeah,
say?
you had 10 adults because my girlfriend
Did I
and
have
I,
10?
and then a
Okay.
group of 8.
Yeah, okay. So I had a decent crowd, but that was the lacrosse tournament weekend, wasn't it? Okay.
Yeah.
There are teenage and young adult girls and their lacrosse teams just sprinkled all over Hershey. And we were singing and doing karaoke. We would get to one of the stops and we're like, hey, you guys come see our trolley. And several of those lacrosse groups just jumped on with us and toured around for an hour, and we were karaokeing and carrying on.
It's so funny.
Fun.
I said to my girlfriend that I actually hired all those girls. They were paid actresses just so that she could have a once in a lifetime experience. We were laughing so hard. It's big fun. So I know people can book you for special outings, and we have a mutual friend who's going out on an outing tomorrow. So talk more about special outings and how that's worked.
I appreciate that. It's like you said, in any business, I think you iterate, right? That's a perfect example here. We got the trolley so that we could take people and highlight these local businesses. And I thought that was just going to be through people signing up for food tours. which is happening. But the minute I had the trolley, I started getting requests for private occasions, private parties and stuff. And which is awesome. I mean, we love that. So we've done some weddings, some bachelorette parties, that kind of thing. And then now several corporate events. And like, one corporate person said to me, it's like, it's time for us to get back together. Like we've had those weird years, yeah, of being remote and we did what we had to do. But I think people are aching for that together time. And the way our trolley is set up, we have the first 3 benches are just regular rows. Like you have an aisle going down, then 2, 2, and 2. And then after that, as you know, it's party seating. And so if if you get car sick or whatever, you can have one of those front and you're just like, on a regular nice bus. But otherwise you're sitting across from people and it's really an opportunity to visit. And that's what we like to do on our food tours too, because like we'll have groups of 4 or a couple or a group of 6 and we all kind of get to know each other. You had asked about the corporate events. Yes, that, oh my gosh, I love that because we get to bring people together. They get to have a good time. There's always music involved. We teach or instruct on, whatever they're interested in, and it has worked really well. So we did one with an accounting firm across the river where they got a bunch of interns on and we did an event. And now this is with a sales team and it's like a reward for their accomplishments.
Nice. I love that you called out that, one of your clients says it's time to get back together. It's time to return to a sense of normalcy where we see people in person and we
Yeah.
talk to them and we have fun. You're
Yeah.
really delivering well in that space. What's been the biggest surprise as you've networked and built those relationships with different restaurants and different businesses?
Oh, that's an awesome question. And I tell people this all the time. So when I first, had the idea for food tours in Hershey and approached restaurants about it, the response, well, what do you think the response would be?
I would like to think it would have been positive,
Yeah. Well,
but I'm an optimist.
Well, it was a spectrum. Some places I would go in and say, "Hey, I'm looking at doing food tours," and I could barely get the words out before he or she was like, "Yes, I've waited and waited for this. It needs to exist in Hershey. I am all in." And the other side of the spectrum was, that sounds kind of interesting. Do you have any information we could take from you and give you a call?" I thought everybody would be like jumping at it. So I don't know. Every situation is a little different how restaurants are run. So that was a surprise. I'm not going to say that was positive or negative. I mean, mostly positive because I definitely had that core to start with that were very, very positive.
That's
Yeah.
pretty similar in my space, right? Like if I were to talk to a coach or a club organizer and just ask, does your team struggle with confidence? What if we could give them the tools? There's a percentage that's all in, and then there's another percentage that's like, that's interesting. I got it under control, right? So when you have your own business, your job is to be resilient and just keep working
Yeah.
it.
Probably the 80-20 rule, and it probably applies everywhere. So then you go like I did and you go to those 20% that are like, team yes. And then you just keep doing that and creating that, working with the 20.
Yeah, Team Yes. I love it. Team Yes. I love it. I know you are a pretty big reader. What's one book over the course of your entrepreneurial life that really had an impact?
Oh my gosh, there's several. I think my 2 favorite, and they are oldies but goodies. One is way before my time, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Do you know about that book at all?
Yep, yep.
Okay.
Dale Carnegie. Dale.
Dale Carnegie. And I think it's such a funny title because what the book is about, if I'm going to put it in a nutshell, is how and why you really ought to make it a life's mission to listen to people and try to understand them. That's it. So winning friends is such a funny title. But I've learned a lot from that book. And then I would say the other one is Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, written by Stephen R. Covey in the 90s. And I read that in the 90s, and then I read it again in the last 5 years or so. All of those seven habits are amazing. And one of them that has really kind of like become part of my core, I would say, is the think win-win.
How has that become part of your core?
Think that and I would like to hear from you too. Do you like that book as well?
It's actually one of my favorites. And
Okay.
for me, is the one habit that's really impacted my life was begin with the end in mind. Right. And I always abbreviate to like see the end. And in the book, he talks about it being at the end of your journey. And I use it for everything. How do we want this show to deliver? How do I want my interaction with my kids to be? How do I want my interaction with this client to be? I use it on a daily basis.
That is so powerful. I was just shopping for cars yesterday, and I went into this dealership, and the guy said to me, oh, he was talking about how they service any used cars that they get in, and how they put all this care into it. And he said, because our desire is not to sell you a car, but it is to sell you every car. And I'm like, when you say begin with the end in mind, that's what he's doing there too. He's like, it's not about right now and what's going to happen. This is about now and 10 and 20 years from now. Right. And I think that is an awesome mindset. So for me, the think win-win is just like, okay, another book was called Blue Oceans. And
Yep.
that one, do you remember that one? It was from several years back about don't look at
Strategy.
things yeah. And don't look at things as competitive. Think of things as collaborative. And the name of the book indicates like go to where the ocean is still blue, not where it's red from the shark's blood attacking each other, but just go out there where it's blue and calm. And I think it's my nature probably to be collaborative. And that just speaks to me. That's like, okay, you know what? For business, you don't have to be cutthroat, and you don't have to be competitive and trying to squeeze the other guy to get what you want. I literally in business meetings am like, okay, Anne, what do you want? Like, what are your goals? And then I express what mine are. And then there's always usually a third party, like a client or whatever. It's like, okay, what do they want? So how do we make this deal so that we all win? And it's totally possible.
I love it. So I'm going to pivot a little bit. You're a mom, you're a grandmom, you're an entrepreneur, and a realtor. How do you manage?
Yeah. I mean, am I going to sit here and pretend like I have it all together? No. It's a lot. And starting a business like my heavy lifting parenting days are over because my kids are all grown and out of the house. My youngest is a junior in college, and the others are completely sufficient adults and everything. So that heavy lifting is gone, but my heavy lifting right now is just a business launch. And it is I love how they call it a launch because those rockets, when they launch from Cape Canaveral,
It's pretty quick, right? They go up.
well, it's quick, but they say it's some crazy number, like 90% of the fuel for the whole mission is used just to move it from ground level to, out of the atmosphere, which is a tiny portion of the whole mission. But it's like I'm way in that right now, and it's a lot to do.
Yeah. Yeah. It can be all consuming. But you know what? You do have some strategies to manage it all. And I know that because you shared it with me. You're pretty committed to your fitness. Talk about why that routine is so important, why self-care is important.
Oh, to my fitness. Yeah. I feel, I mean, it's that whole thing, right? The oxygen mask comes down from an airplane. They tell the parents, put yours on first before you try to help your child. Absolutely. I mean, I call it the power hour in the morning. Oh, ideally that's 5 to 6 o'clock. Sometimes if you don't go to bed on time, you're not wanting to get up at 5, which is fine. Sleep is super important to our fitness as well. Anyway, power hour in the morning involves some kind of cardio, wind sprints, or just running a mile or two, push-ups, reading. journaling and writing usually. And that's how I spend the first hour of the day. And I feel like that gives me immense focus and power to just kind of do what needs to be done. I mean, do you?
Yeah. So I'm a morning person,
Sorry,
but
can I interrupt really quick? You
but
say
I'm
you're a
not a
morning
5 a.m.
5 Okay,
I'm
I
like a
was
6
talking.
a.m.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. I was talking to an entrepreneur. His name's Alan Peck, and he owns the potato coop in Lingles. Really sharp young kid. Anyway, he was saying something about what he does in the morning. And he said one time his wife said, "Well, you have so much going on in your life. It's a good thing you're a morning person." And he just laughed. He's like, "I'm not a morning. I need myself a morning person."
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
with a
Yeah.
lot of hard work. So I'm gonna go in that camp too. It's like,
Well, it's a choice. It's a choice. Like the choice is I'm going to bed. I'm not staying up watching TV. I'm not scrolling on my phone. I'm going to bed. And the choice is you set the alarm. So my routine is I bought a trampoline or a rebounder in January.
uh
So first thing I do, 15 minutes, really good music, and I bounce. So it's
nice.
like crazy, but it is nothing but like a joyful start to the day. Really good
Yeah,
music and like either jumping jacks or I'm just having fun. And
yeah.
then every other day it's like weight or cardio.
Okay.
So today was like 20 minutes of no, it was 30 minutes of a kettlebell routine. And then I close out mine with like stretching. And then I always do like a 5 or 10 minute meditation. And the meditation is a much improved practice where I bought into a concept called habit stacking. So if you have a really good habit, for me, working out was an easy habit mastered.
Yeah.
The meditation was infrequent. So I just stack it on top of a good habit
Yeah.
and I get it done. And it's a gift. And my philosophy is
Meditation.
like, yep, is if I take time for me first thing, then boom, bring it on. I'm available for everybody. And I'm in the appropriate frame of mind to be available for others.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And that's our oxygen mask. And I feel like that's the only way we can really be the people we need to and show up in other people's lives how we should is if we're doing that oxygen. And for us, it happens in the morning, right? First thing.
Yep. And if I miss it by 2 o'clock, I know it.
I don't know if we've talked about this, you and me, before, but I've also gotten into cold plunging.
Yeah, so I do. Would you do that at home?
Well, I can only cold shower at home. And
Right.
in the summertime, I can barely even do that. But I went out of state to visit my mom, and there was a cold plunge um, like facility right by her. And so I was actually able to do it like 4 times while I was visiting her. Game changer. Want one. They're $6,000. Should we go in together?
Your property or mine? Does it come with wheels? The cold shower I can do. And it's free, give or
Yeah,
take.
it's free.
Give or
Yeah.
take.
But that's really something what it does to you physically and mentally.
All right. So a good friend of mine, Beth Shea, her and her husband bought a freezer and they secured it in a way that the lid doesn't close and they use a freezer as their cold plunge. They just fill it and they modulate the temperature. So they actually installed a sauna and a cold plunge and they didn't spend 6,000 on their cold plunge. So I could facilitate that introduction if you want to see that and learn
Please.
more.
Well, okay.
Yeah. What would you want the people in central Pennsylvania and guests visiting central Pennsylvania to know about Lulu and your business and how can they find out more?
I appreciate that. I would want them to know that this is a new activity when they are coming to the Hershey Harrisburg area that's available that is unique and really, really fun. So we combine history, music, and some of the best food you'll ever have in an experience for our food tours. It's 2.5, 3 hours and just a total blast. Just getting the word out that that exists is, takes a little time. If you don't want to commit to the 3 hours of being with us like that, you can do the trolley crawl like you and your girlfriend did. Super low cost of admission is $20 and you loop around Hershey for 5 hours and hop off and try whatever restaurant you want. That's fun too. Anybody looking for corporate events, like to do something fun with your team, or you've got a daughter getting married or a friend having a birthday, like Lulu is the party bus.
And Lulu comes with Eileen, who's like the hostess with the
Yeah, the
mostest.
party
The
starter.
woman has dance moves. I thought I had something going on.
So,
Forget it. There's no comparison. No comparison. So,
oh man.
Eileen, absolutely my honor to chat with you and to highlight your business. So, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yes. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Anne.